Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sportsballin, your home for all things sports. My name is Ethan Markham, and as always, I'm joined by Connor Smith and Jace Vincent. You guys ready to talk some ball?
Dude, absolutely. Best day of the week. Let's get after it, boys.
Hey, Mondays are the best days for us. Episode 11, first live episode also on BRTV, so let's get it going.
Absolutely. Let's get on after it. The NFL draft is always the most exciting and most important part of every offseason, and as always, there are teams who were able to seize the moment. Here are two teams we believe won the draft, starting with the Tennessee Titans.
The Tennessee Titans, for one, me personally, I would have gone with Abdul Carter, but even with that, you get Cam Ward, what you think is your quarterback for the future, the Heisman finalist, best quarterback in the draft, undoubtedly. And you get some good pieces throughout the draft to help bolster your team. Tennessee is nowhere close to competing, but this was a really good step in the right direction. One thing that stood out to me is the picks that they made. It wasn't a simple just plug and play type thing. It was moves that they looked to develop those guys for the future, and they really see these guys being big parts of their team.
Absolutely, and I also love the fact that they went out in the UDFA to get Xavier Restrepo to continue that relationship that Cam Ward has with him, as you can see when they played in Miami. But I also love adding also on offense when they had Gunnar Helm, one of the best tight ends in the country out of Texas, along with Cam Ward to give him some weapons, along with just nothing that really Will Levis had to go along with. So you can really tell where the investment is for Miss Amy and the Tennessee Titans.
And you mentioned the Gunnar Helm pick. I'm big on that one, right?
Yeah.
A big part of that, not just because Gunnar Helm, but they've had Chig Okonkwo for so long and have just been waiting for him to have that breakout season. This puts a little bit of pressure on him to start finally performing.
Well, also with Helm, I think this could be one of the steals of the draft. You look at him, he would have been a second-round pick at worst, an early third, if he didn't have that injury several months ago. But he was the best tight end in the SEC last year. He can do it all. He can block. He can catch passes. He can even line up in the slot. This guy reminds me of Pat Freiermuth. Pretty good tight end in the NFL.
Pretty good tight end.
And if you get that out of him, that's awesome. Also, Winston, the safety from Penn State, this kid was a first-round pick before he got hurt 2 years ago. He had two injuries back-to-back. Get him in the third or fourth round. You get what could have been the number 1 or number 2 safety that late in the draft. And as long as he stays healthy, that's a massive steal.
Absolutely, and you got some good receivers too. Ayo Manor from Stanford. You also got Dyke from Florida. And then they fixed the edge position as well. They got Olodeo. So they really did draft a lot of players for the positions that they needed.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
We'll now move on to another team that we feel won the draft, the New York Giants.
In my opinion, I think the Giants had the number 1 draft, A+, best in 2025. You look at it, you got Abdul Carter at the number 3 overall pick, best player in the draft, in my opinion. Got Jackson Dart later in the first. He's probably not Cam Ward, but I think he's QB2. I think he's better than Shadir, better than Milroe, better than Dylan Gabriel. They also got Cam Scatterby, okay? The All-American running back in the 4th round. This guy, he's not going to be anything special. He's not going to be a superstar, but he will have a long 8 to 10 year career in the NFL where he's a high-end RB2 or a low-end RB1. I think you got him to pair with Tyrone Tracy, great pick.
Absolutely, and I think even Cam Scatterby, I think you could even argue between him and Ashton Jeanty, who's the best running back in that draft.
Whoa.
Of course, I'm saying you could really argue it.
I'm big on Scatterby.
Because Scatterby was doing it. Scatterby was doing it at a power 4 level as well, but he's going to be a good back that you can have one coming out of the backfield to catch passes as well as a do-it-all back that can get 4 if you need 3. But yeah, I love that them going back into the first round, trading back in to get Jackson Dart because they needed a quarterback. It was shocking at the time for everyone that didn't see them get Shador, but going in and getting Abdul Carter, who we've been saying is probably the best player in the draft, adding to that defense, they could have probably one of the best defensive fronts really in the NFL this year.
Yeah. Absolutely. They fixed but they fixed a lot of their positions of need. I'm big on Scatterby, so I agree with you there. Just a great draft. I really do think that they were one of the winners of the draft. But now, not all teams are able to take advantage of the draft, and whether that's through missed opportunities or head-scratching decisions, here are two teams that we felt lost the draft, starting with the Miami Dolphins.
Dolphins. You started off so well. You get Kenneth Grant in the first. Now, granted, a little high for my liking. I think he should have gone to middle late in the first. He went, I believe, he was 13th overall. So I don't hate the pick. I think you could have gotten him a little bit later. But he's a good guy. He's not going to rush the passer at an elite level in the NFL, but he's a good run stuffer, clog holes, just does all the dirty work that you want your interior defensive lineman to do. Second round pick, you get Jonah. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name.
Yeah.
Good pick as well, but it was also a reach. everything from there on out, I don't get it. You get Ollie Gordon the second and the sixth. You get Quinn Ewers in the seventh. If you're going to take a quarterback, why not go with Shedeur 2 rounds earlier? I don't get most of their draft.
Yeah, see, part of that was I feel like Quinn Ewers kind of should have stayed in college, but I feel like it was probably part on Texas to probably like say, oh, it's Arch Manning's team now. But to go back into Miami, you tell them, as you mentioned, they started off good. Then you go back in, you trade most of your picks away, and you draft Jordan Phillips, who's a defensive lineman that had no sacks and 1.5 TFLs in 2 years. And then Jonah, as you mentioned, that guard allowing 4 sacks. It's a risky play going with the guard that's allowed 4 sacks, who Miami traded up for. And then the one position that Miami really needs, cornerback, they wait 150 picks to get one, and they get Jason Marshall, who he's not a sure tackler and needs to work on consistency. So kind of from Miami, I feel like they should have put more of an emphasis on building their secondary back up, especially after losing Jalen Ramsey in the offseason.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I'll say this. Kenneth Grant is going to be a great run stopper, but Walter Nolan was there. And Walter Nolan's a do-it-all defensive tackle, and I think Derek Harmon's going to be a better run stopper than Kenneth Grant anyway. So you, in my opinion, missed at your first-round pick. Ollie Gordon is a weird move because you didn't need a running back. That wasn't a position of need, and you mentioned Quinn Ewers. Backup quarterbacks in Miami have had a lot of playing time these last few years due to Tua's injury concerns. So why do you wait until the 7th round to pick a guy that you know is probably going to play?
Yeah, absolutely.
But for the other team that we felt lost the draft, it would be the Cleveland Browns.
You know, I really love what the Browns did, trading back 5th overall pick. You get Mason Graham, you get a 1st-round pick and a 4th-round pick for 2026. That's about where it ends. I mean, you get several middle-of-the-pack, average prospects at that. I do really like Dylan Sampson on day 3, but Harold Fannin, some of the other guys, you get Quinshon Judkins, and then 2 quarterbacks. It seems like they went into this draft with no plan. 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. I don't understand it.
Kind of seems like a fantasy draft that you would do, really, is what Cleveland did.
Yeah.
It's really, see, the Shedeur pick for me for Cleveland, I don't know, it kind of feels forced by Haslam there to go in there and just kind of like take him since the other 31 teams weren't going to. But I don't really have an issue with them going and getting Dylan Gabriel, but now you have 5 quarterbacks on your roster, and then you're going to get Dylan Sampson, who I like, but you also get Quinshon Judkins. So like 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs doesn't make sense. Harold Fannin could be good. I think he's one of the best tight ends in the draft. But then you go, it just like a lot of picks that didn't make sense really outside of trading back and looking for capital in the future to get Mason Graham.
There's just no plan.
Yeah, and you know, with the idea of taking Shedeur, my thing is that they already took Dylan Gabriel, so it feels like a move where you draft him just simply for trade capital, but this is not a team that's in a position to do that. And like you mentioned, taking 2 running backs just doesn't feel right at this time for them. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got NBA basketball and college baseball up next.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Remember the best planned 90 minutes of your life? Or that surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because I felt like a failure. And then I realized, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches, ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
Honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutVaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
This past Saturday, the Grizzlies season officially came to an end with a heartbreaking 117-115 loss to the Thunder as SGA dropped 38 points to clinch a 4-0 sweep over Memphis. This marks another frustrating end to a season that once showed immense promise for the Grizzlies. Guys, where do the Grizzlies even go from here?
I think you've got to address the two biggest things about what went wrong was rebounding and turnovers, okay? You look at it, they gave up 77 rebounds, they turned the ball over 77 times, and they were out rebounded by double digits the first two games. Second game, they won the rebound battle on the glass, and it was close. Shocker. But no, I think you can see your two biggest holes, and that's something you can work on.
And see, the part of it was the whole last season going into the draft was to address that rebounding issue of getting Zach Edey in the top 10 to address so that way Jaren Jackson Jr. is not playing in that 5 role and he can go play in a 4 or a 3, which is what he did this year, but then the defense still struggles and lacks, which just leaves questions of it's why they are making a coaching change. And I think also in the playoffs, I think if Ja never gets hurt, I think they potentially take 1 game. I don't think they take 2. I don't think they take both in Memphis, but I think they possibly take 1, and it drags it up to probably a game 5. But that's, for Memphis, it's weird. Like, they were a 2 seed originally in the West going into, what was it, March?
Yeah, I mean, they were in the race for the 2 seed for a while, and then all of a sudden, here they are, they're in the play-in tournament. So, I mean, they just collapsed.
Well, and then you have a really rough series. You lose by 51 in game 1, lose by 19 in game 2. You choke a 29-point lead in game 3. Game 4, like, it happens. Like, you lose a close game. It is what it is, but at that point, it's too late. You've already choked a 30-point lead. You've gotten beat by a combined 70 points. I don't know. I mean, at least they know what they need to improve on heading into the offseason.
Yeah, and this series, I kind of really defined why Oklahoma City was a 1 seed and has been that way all year, of really why they've been one of the best teams building that young depth through all those picks that they've had and all those first-round picks, really building players like SGA, both Jalen Williams, and just all those players that they have. It's really proven why Oklahoma City's in the position that they are. And it's a step that Memphis can look at and really see where they want to build for the future.
Absolutely. They definitely have some things to fix, and they're going to have to for the future. This past weekend, the Vols suffered their 3rd series loss of the season, dropping 2 of 3 on the road against LSU. Tennessee lost late in Game 1, dominated Game 2, winning 9-3, and then got run-ruled on Sunday 12-2. What are some big takeaways from this tough series for the Vols?
They should have won. I mean, game 2, obviously, you win 9-3. Game 3, you get run-ruled. But Game 1, you were leading heading into the 9th inning, and if I believe correctly, it was 3-0. And a Dean Curley error leads LSU to go on a 6-0 run and walk it off. You should have won the series. And this is a series where even if you get run ruled in the 3rd game, you still take a victory over, I think, what is now number 3 in the country according to D1 Baseball. You get all the momentum back after losing last weekend series. It's just, we keep saying, no need to worry, no need to worry. It's early in the season, it's the Vols, they're losing to elite teams, like it's whatever. But when you consistently lose to elite teams over and over and over, it just further proves why you can't compete this year. And that's okay. But, I mean, with what they have, they should be able to.
Yeah, and I think that's just part of your being in the dog days, as you mentioned last week, of an SEC schedule, and you have a lot of new faces playing that don't have either SEC experience or they're new to college baseball. But it's a Tony Vitello squad. You've seen them be able to come over that adversity. Like in 2023, they weren't even seeded going into, I think they're fringe top 25 going into the NCAA tournament, and they still made Omaha. So could that be for this team? Maybe. We'll see. We've seen how Tony Vitello leads these teams and how Frank Anderson gets the pitching staff going into late May and into June for the NCAA tournament. But it's where they have to address it. They have Auburn at home. They're at home for the next couple weekends. They have Auburn and Vandy, a couple of top 10 matchups. They fell to 12 coming into today's rankings. So we'll see how they face adversity. Now they've lost back-to-back series and 3 out of the last 4 now with the Texas A&M one. So it's really, where do you want to see and how are you going to respond with a bunch of new true freshmen and transfers? How are they going to respond to now being punched in the face a couple times?
Absolutely, and you mentioned the pitching staff. That's the thing that's the most confusing about this. Marcus Phillips, who has struggled lately, had a great game too. But in Game 3, they used 8 different pitchers after starting A.J. Russell.
I mean, you had to. The bullpen, and which is funny because just 3 weeks ago we were saying how Tennessee had one of the best bullpens, pitching staffs in general in the country. They didn't show up this week.
Absolutely, they did not. We'll take another break from the action, and when we return, we've got our hot takes of the week.
By the time you see the symptoms of lung cancer, it could be too late. Now there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early. If you smoked, get scanned.
We do it. The stars come to Middle Tennessee State University, and students come here to become stars no matter what they pursue. We do it. We're the only college of media and entertainment in the world, just outside the heart of Nashville.
Look, mic check, 1, 2, everybody listen. When you do it like this, ain't no competition. I'm talking B.I.G., VIP. Treat them like a front row seat and make them pay attention. If I shoot for the 3, then I ain't never missing. Cranking up the degrees like I was in the kitchen. Can't lose, got too much to prove. And when you do it all, it get too hard to do it.
Our curriculum and facilities are cutting edge, and our relationships with industry leaders give students an edge over the competition. Check it out. You can get real-world experience with degrees in recording industry, media arts, journalism and strategic media, and more. Media and entertainment at Middle Tennessee State University.
Welcome back. It's time for our hot takes of the week. Jace, we'll start with you.
Well, my hot take, you two might disagree with. I know you're going to disagree with it, and it's that right now in the world of college football, the Big Ten has surpassed the SEC in 2025. For that reason, going with this, they won the last 2 national titles. Their bowl record is the best among all of the power conferences, and they've proved it from top to bottom. They're the best conference right now. They've surpassed the SEC so far right now. 9-5 against the SEC in 2023, 5-1 against the SEC in 2024. They've proven it on the field how they're better, and what swung that for me is the Michigan and Alabama game this past season, the ReliaQuest Bowl, as well as the Illinois and South Carolina game. There was the 2 tipping points right there. Connors has his head and his face over here right next to me. But that's okay. I'm staying on my point. Ohio State right now, they almost matched Georgia's record of NFL draft picks. That's like the one leg up the SEC has right now is draft of 19 consecutive years or whatever it is of having the draft.
Since
the most
2007.
Yes, that's 19 consecutive years, but that's okay. Right now, the Big Ten's better than the SEC.
No. Okay, first off, Michigan didn't beat Alabama. They beat Jalen Milroe. If Jalen Milroe does not turn the ball over 4 times in the first quarter, Bama steamrolls them. Second off, are you really going to put, and we've talked about this, I know what your answer is going to be. Are you really going to take 2 years over 20 years of dominance?
That's why I said right now.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that, because if we're talking right now, since 2020, since the COVID year, the SEC has won more national championships than the Big Ten, 3-2.
Right now, the Big Ten is better. And from 2024 and 2025, the Big Ten is better. Right now, the SEC was better than at the time. Yes, I agree.
Okay, well right now it's 7-18. It's not going to be 7-18 soon. So.
Yeah, in 2025, going into this season right now, until the SEC proves otherwise in their postseason, they've struggled.
The
last couple
SEC,
years. The Big Ten's better right now.
No, the SEC had one down year and it still had the most playoff teams, okay?
Yeah, and then the Big Ten had half of the semifinal field. They had Indiana, or Penn State, and
I think we're going to have to move to Connor's take.
Stupid hot take. Sorry, guys. For mine, even with the clear holes in the Tennessee pitching staff and bullpen, the Vols will still return to Omaha and play in the 2025 College World Series Finals. You know, I get Marcus Phillips, Tegan Coons have been extremely up and down with a few pieces in the bullpen, not doing their job lately. But I love what UT has on offense. Hunter Inslee, Reese Chapman, Andrew Fisher, Dalton Bargo, Cannon Peebles, and so on and so forth. Also have Liam Doyle, who is one of, if not the best starting pitchers in college baseball. Going to be SEC Pitcher of the Year without a question. You also have a top 3 head coach, I'd argue the best head coach in the country, with Tony Vitello. You know, while it's certainly not his best team, I think Vitello can still will the Volunteers to a College World Series final appearance.
I absolutely agree with that. By the way, I didn't get to respond in your previous hot take. I disagree with you.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that the Vols have more than enough firepower to make it back to Omaha. I don't think they're going to win necessarily. But like we said earlier, when you were talking about that 23 team that nobody expected to even make it there, they were unranked at one point in the season. They made it all the way to Omaha. I think that finals might be pushing it, though.
Yeah.
Finals might be pushing it.
I think finals is pushing it. I think that they're like a 2-2 type team in Omaha with the pitching. They have 8 Grand Slams on the year, so the bats are still there, home run wise and long ball wise. But I think the consistency just has to be there before I can say they're going to make a national title appearance again.
I mean, like I said, I think the offense is one of the best in the country. I think the pitching staff can get there. But you still have some veteran guys that were on last year's team with Reese Chapman, Hunter Inslee, and then Tony Vitello. We've seen with Nick Saban, Dan Hurley, willing their teams to farther than what they should have gone. This year, I think it's the same. I think they're a year away from winning the national championship next year. But this year, they will be runners-up.
I definitely could see it. For my hot take, it's going to be that Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders will win a Super Bowl within the next 4 seasons. And my reasoning being that Washington retained every major piece that they needed to this offseason. They added several big stars, Laramie Tunsil on the offensive line, along with Deebo Samuel. And Jaden Daniels is coming off of a generational rookie season in which his team was just 1 game short of the Super Bowl anyway. I wouldn't be surprised to see them become the next big dynasty, at least as far as in the NFC.
You know, dynasty's a big word. I don't say that until they win one. So let's pump the brakes on that. However, I do agree with your hot take. Okay, Jaden Daniels is going to be the face of the league with him and Patrick Mahomes within the next 15 years or so. I love what they have offensively. Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. They got Brian Robinson running the rock. Good offensive line. I want to see them improve the defense, but they've obviously tried to make strides with that, making moves at the trade deadline last year, and I'm sure they'll make more in free agency this year. So I'm going to say yes.
They added Javon Kinlaw on the defensive line, so they've
Yeah.
got a great run stopper. They added Trey Amos in the draft, so I mean, they've fixed a lot of the big issues with the roster.
I think they can, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they can win a championship at some point. I don't know about dynasty though. I think that was a
Well, I mean, I'm just saying
Premature.
they're set up for success in the long run right now.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what other NFC team other than the Eagles can you name right now that you're saying, okay, I think they're in a better position than Washington? Is it Detroit though?
Maybe. They beat Detroit on Detroit's field.
They beat Detroit.
And the thing about it is, if they had a defense, I know that game was a blowout, but it was because the lack of experience with Washington. They had no defense. If they've got a defense and Jaden Daniels is a seasoned vet, 2 or 3 years in the league, they may have beat the Eagles.
Yeah, I really don't think there's many teams that can compete with them in the long run. We'll be back here in a moment where we'll have our favorite segment. It's Connor's Question right after this.
There are a lot of words I would use to describe my daughter. Kind, strong, hilarious. When I think about how much she's experienced in her life, we can't help but be inspired by her every day. So really, we are the lucky ones. Learn more at adoptuskids.org.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the sea and help them feel safer. In terms of hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
It's time for our favorite segment, Connor's Question. Connor, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, Ethan. This week we have who is the best college football team that never won a national championship? You know, there's several teams you can look at, 2016 Bama, 2011 LSU, 03 Miami. I'm going to say 2019 Ohio State, though. You had 2 Heisman Trophy finalists in defensive end Chase Young, quarterback Justin Fields, a 2,000-yard running back in J.K. Dobbins, trio of star receivers, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who were true freshmen at that point, K.J. Hill, a star-studded defense. I think it's got to be the Buckeyes.
See, that's tough, really. I think 2019 Ohio State's up there, really, because they were the only one to play 2019 Clemson close that year, because we all saw the national title that followed up. It was like, what, 44-16 between them and Alabama?
Something like that.
That Clemson team was crazy. I think that was really the one moment for Justin Fields, really, to get a ring in the college level, and it just kind of slipped away. And then 2020 followed after that, where he was in the national title. But I'm going to go with 03 Miami. I think it's really a 1A, 1B conversation. Respectfully on your side, though. Respectfully. But 03 Miami.
I'm going to go 2016 Alabama.
Really?
I think it's one of the best defenses that Saban ever had. I mean, that team from top to bottom was just stacked. And I was shocked that they didn't win it. They weren't able to get past Deshaun Watson and Clemson. But, I mean, that was just – I don't know. That's, in my opinion, that's the best defense that never won a national championship in the history of college football.
What about – let me raise you.
No.
I'm not going to say they were one of the best, but where does 2017 Georgia fall in that rank as well? Because they also have
very, very low on the
Well, I know. I'm not saying all the time. I'm not saying all the time, but they were a great defensive team as well, like a typical standard Georgia team. They had I'm blanking on the linebackers name that won the Buckus Award that year. Roquan Smith. They had him. Now, granted, they had Jake Fromm, but they had Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb as well on that team.
Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, Mecole Hardman. They had Lorenzo Carter. Bunch of studs all over that team as well. I'm not saying they're one of the best all the time, but they were a great team that didn't win the national title also.
You know, I think the homer in me wants to come out and say Bama. However,
I hate that I'm saying it, by the way.
However, the defense Ohio State had, not as good as Bama. I think we can agree with that. 2016 Bama might be the best defense of all time. However, are they stopping Justin Fields, who was the runner-up in the Heisman, a 2,000-yard running back, 2 future first-round picks at receiver, and then K.J. Hill, plus an offensive line where all of them went to the NFL, and a couple were first-round draft picks. I mean, 6 overall first-round draft picks on that team, 32 draftees in total.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm standing on it. It's Nick Saban.
I don't think Jalen Hurts can get done. I think freshman Jalen Hurts would fold.
Give me that 03
in the
Miami
prime.
defense.
It's in the prime of Nick Saban's dynasty. I think that I think that team beats almost anybody, and I think that 9 out of 10 times they would have won the national championship.
Yeah, and give me that 03 Miami defense.
Okay, flip it. 2016 Bama, 03 Miami. Bama destroys them, 44-0.
Yeah, no, it's not even close.
I'm joking.
I think it's not close.
Whoa, that's a hot take itself.
Yeah, no, I think 2016 Alabama beats
See, if this was me saying this, then y'all would be jumping all over me for saying
yeah,
it.
because it's
But now it's Ethan. Now it's different.
Because it's Nick Saban.
It is different.
It's a double standard over
Shut
there.
up.
It's not a no.
You had a bad hot take. Now you got a bad response to Connor's question.
It's not a double standard. It's
terrible.
It's Nick Saban is what it is.
You're off your rocker today,
the
Jace.
standard. That's all we've got for Connor's question. We thank you for tuning in, and remember to look for all future episodes of Sportsballin on Blue Raider TV and YouTube every week on Tuesday. For Connor Smith and Jace Vincent, I'm Ethan Markham. We'll see you around. Good night.
You're off your damn rocker today,
It's
buddy.
not a double standard.
It is a double standard.
No, it's not.